welcome to Good Grief, the podcast dedicated to demystifying and destigmatizing grief with compassion and humor. I'm Nikki. I'm an end-of-life doula and a grief coach in Columbus, Ohio. And today I have another amazing guest episode. Before I dive in, I just want to say if you are watching this on YouTube, you might notice this looks a little wonky. And if the sound quality is a little different right now, I deeply apologize. I am house sitting for somebody and there is not a good place to set up for podcasting. So you just have to suffer through this intro and a little bit at the end, and the meat of the show, I promise, will be much better quality. But anyway, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula, where I had just a beautiful and amazing conversation with Sarah Kagan. She is a grief coach, a speaker. She's just an amazing human being. We had such a great conversation, and I am incredibly glad I met her. Sarah lost her mother. You know what? I'm not going to share too much more. That's part of why we bonded. Obviously, we both lost our mothers. We talked a lot about grief coaching, because we're both grief coaches. I'm excited. I'll stop talking and just let you listen to my conversation with her. But before we dive into that, I had announced before, and I will announce again, that I am hopefully, crossing my fingers, launching the Good Grief Society. If you are a fan of the show, or if you are somebody who has suffered a loss and is just looking for a safe place to land and 24/7 community where you can receive grief support, then the Good Grief Society is the place for you. If you go to nikkithedeathdoula.com/podcast, there's some information on what this is and where you can sign up for the wait list to be a part of my new community. So please hop on over to nikkithedeathdoula.com/podcast and learn some more information there. And if you are not into that, but you want to support this show, you can always go to patreon.com/nikkithedeathdoula. You can support me. All the funds I receive from Patreon, I use to provide pro bono work within the community. I have a couple of clients right now I am seeing at no cost to them because of my Patreon supporters. And if you support me, I'll give you a little shout out on the show. You get early access to this show and other bonus content throughout the week. So that is all. I'm going to stop talking now so we can get on to today's amazing episode with Sarah Kagan. Hi, sorry, one more thing before we get into today's episode. There are just a couple of unbeeped curse words in today's episode. So if you've got little ones around, you might want to put the headphones in. There are just a couple. But yeah, I always just want to put that out there. I will put a explicit content warning tag on this too, just so we all know. But I always like to put that out there just in case anybody's listening with little ones around. All right, that's all. Thank you. There we go. All right. So you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let me move my microphone closer. I keep forgetting to do that. Okay. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in again this week. I am so excited to have my new best friend. My new friend with me, Sarah Kagan. I found Sarah at a pitch fest for podcasters, and she said two words, and I'm like, she's in. I gotta have her on the show. So immediately read
Which
her bio.
two words?
I don't remember.
Okay, perfect.
I read your bio first, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then I was watching the recording because I couldn't come to live pitch fest, and I was like, oh no, I gotta have her on my show. She's fantastic. So
amazing.
Sarah. So nice to meet you.
Me too.
Sarah, well, I'm going to let you, I can read your bio, but that's no fun. I would like you to introduce yourself in your words. Tell my listeners about you and what you do.
Yeah. I think probably what jumped out at you was I typically introduce myself as a motherless mother.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So I am a motherless mother, and I am on a mission to revolutionize the way we talk about grief. My mom died 2 years ago, and it was such a profound experience for me, as it is for so many people, but I could not get over the way that we as a society support, address, approach, talk about, move through grief and loss.
Mm-hmm.
And so about 6 months ago, I quit my job, and now I started Keriah Grief Coaching, where I focus on helping organizations better support individuals who are grieving. And then I'm also just an advocate for grief and grief awareness and what it really looks like to grieve in our modern world.
Oh, I love you. No, you're just, saying everything I say, it sounds like, which is, great minds think alike. That's why I
Totally.
started this whole podcast was to talk about grief and destigmatize it as best I can. I'm trying.
Totally.
Yeah, so and I too recently lost my mother, as my listeners are well aware. That just happened a couple months ago. So that's a hard one. I don't have kids of my own, so I'm not a motherless mother. I'm a motherless daughter, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. So what made you get into this? Like, you talked about losing your mom. Was that the catalyst for all of this work, or were you kind of working this a little bit before that?
I think that I have always been someone who's a little bit of a seeker. And like I've taken a yoga training, I've taken a health coaching training, I've taken a nutrition coaching course. And like I was always trying to like understand where my very deep empathetic self fit into the larger world. And as I was doing that, I was also working a corporate job and like being on the straight and narrow and sort of just like doing the things you do. And then when my mom died, I was like, what is this? Like anyone who's highly sensitive or has like a big empath part of their personality, like me, it's like a whole body experience. And that was when I was like, nobody is understanding what I'm experiencing.
Hmm.
And the message that I'm getting from the rest of the world is like, what you're feeling is too much, and we can't do that. Like,
Hmm.
that's, you got to put that on a shelf or put on that smile. Like, where's that high achiever, high performer we're used to seeing?
Yeah.
Like, can you bring her back out?
Yeah.
And I did for a long time, for like a year.
Hmm.
Um, I took on more projects at work. I birthed a whole child. Um, I hosted Halloween at our house for my son's friends. Like I did that high functioning, high performing thing for a
Yeah.
while like this deeply empathetic human part of my being was being silenced, and it was suffocating me.
Yeah.
And eventually it just kind of came to a point where like I couldn't keep ignoring my own grief.
Hmm.
And so I started sharing about it online and talking about it a little more just as a way to like unburden myself of some of the things that I was feeling personally.
Hmm.
But what happened, which I'm sure you've experienced too, is that so many people resonate with I've lost someone and I don't talk about it. And I really
Yeah.
wish that I did.
Yeah.
And that was sort of like the first time where I was like, I think there's more to this
Hmm.
than just me needing to unburden myself. Like, this is where that connection seeker in me, I think, is meant to live
Yeah.
because I'm willing and sort of unable not to talk about the things that other people wish they could talk about, but aren't sure how to do.
Hmm.
And so that's sort of how it all started, was just me needing an outlet for myself and then realizing that a lot of other people need that outlet too.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I swear it sounds like you're telling my story.
Yeah,
I too am a very highly sensitive person, and I tend to feel things very, very deeply and very, yeah. And my whole life I've been like taught to push that down, to hide
totally.
that, because big feelings are scary for other people.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, they're
Which then
scary.
you learn to make them big, scary for yourself.
Yeah. It was confusing enough for me to be like, why am I so? Because I would get like so worked up. I remember witnessing a car accident. I was at a farmer's market with my mom, and this car accident happened like right in front of us. We were
So
like
scary.
outside, and somebody's trying to turn left in the parking lot and turn left into somebody, and like the car spun, flipped over. Like it was a big accident. They got her out. Everybody was okay. Everybody survived. But it upset me so much I couldn't stop crying. And my mom was like,
Yeah,
"Why are you so upset? Like, it's not that. I mean, like, yeah, that was an accident, but everybody's okay, Nikki. Calm down." And she was just like, couldn't understand why I was so worked up over it. And it just taught me to like hide all those emotions in
totally.
for so long. And yeah, that's why I'm glad I found my work too, because I need an outlet for this.
Well, and I think that that's like a really, so somebody said this thing to me, two things that someone said to me. One, when my mom died and my son was like a month old, so this was maybe 4 months after my mom passed away, someone said to me, everybody loses a parent. Like, this is a normal thing to happen to someone in the course of their lifetime. You probably just have postpartum depression. Like, this can't be grief.
Oh,
And at the
what?
time, I was like, am I broken? Because I don't think that it's just that. Like losing my mom feels like a very big deal. But this feedback that I got was like, this happens to everybody. Why
Yeah.
can't you sort of get over it?
Yeah.
I held that for a long time. And then I talked to this woman who's very well renowned in the grief world, and she basically said to me that people who step into any sort of grief or death work, they
Mhm.
do it because it's a calling. Like,
Yeah.
thank God that not everyone gets so consumed with feelings of grief like
Yeah.
you may have felt or I may have felt, because we wouldn't be able to move on as a
Mhm.
society. But also, thank God that some people do, to support the other people who need help processing and moving through without just saying, well, it happens to everyone. I guess this is just life.
Yeah.
And so it was just so interesting to have like those two almost like angel devil, one
Hmm.
person being like, get over it. And the other person being like, absolutely do not get over
Yeah.
it. Like, this is a gift to give and a calling to have.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm sure you may have experienced too, but I feel like everyone I talk to in this space, there's some element of like calling in it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I've always been a very compassionate and empathetic person, to my detriment at times. But it never occurred to me to do something like as a career with this until I got,
Yeah.
into being a death doula or a few years ago. But I did my outlet through like volunteering. I
Yeah.
volunteered at the suicide hotline. I volunteered at hospice. I volunteered at a nursing home. Like I needed that. And now I can do it all the time, which is
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
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 So go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say before we go, too much further, I want you to tell us a little bit about your mom.
Yeah. My mom's name was Paula Sunshine. Um, yeah, great last name. It's
I
actually
love
me and my
that.
brothers, all of our middle names are Sunshine.
Oh my God, I
Um,
love that.
yeah, so it's a very important like lore in our family,
Yeah.
basically. She was from Atlanta, so she had a little, like a touch of a Southern accent, that I don't hear a lot, but I know other people heard very deeply.
Yeah.
My mom was extremely creative. Am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Okay. She would say, I can't, what did she say? She would say, I can't draw, but I can trace like a motherfucker.
I love
Or I
it.
can copy like a motherfucker or something like that. So she would be able to see something and then like recreate it sort of in her own image likeness.
Uh-huh.
Just she could like envision these things and make them come to life in this way that like nobody else I know could. She was very smart. She was very organized. Um, and yeah, she was just my best friend.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And so she had pancreatic cancer, correct?
Hmm.
Oof. So
Yeah. It's
that's
not a
that
good one.
that's not a good one. I worked with somebody actually a couple years ago. Somehow, even her doctors were baffled. She had pancreatic cancer for 5 years, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. The treatments helped. They never cured it. They never made it smaller, but it kept it from growing. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. Whew.
Well,
Anyway.
my mom's mom had pancreatic cancer,
Oh my gosh.
um, in her 70s. And then my mom was 67 when she got
Oh, we're so
pancreatic cancer.
young.
So young. Yeah. And it's interesting because, there are genetic markers for it that my
Hmm.
family doesn't have, but what they've basically told me is that it just shows an immaturity of the testing. Because if your grandmother had it and then your mom had it, like
Yeah.
there's probably something going on. But because my grandmother was the first, we just didn't even know to look for it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Whew. So,
Yeah.
so obviously her death impacted you a lot
Yeah.
and led you to this work. So, tell us a little bit about your coaching now and how you have those conversations with like corporations, businesses, all of that.
Yeah. So when my parents lived 15 minutes away
Hmm.
from me and my family. So when my mom got sick, I was full-time caring for her work and while working. And so I would often take calls from their house. I was very transparent with my team and my managers when I was commuting, when I was there, when I had to be with her for appointments. And when she went on hospice, I let my managers know. When she passed away, everyone knew. So I took 5 days of bereavement leave. And when I came back to work, not a single person at my entire company said anything to me. I didn't
Wow.
get a note, a card, a Slack message, nothing. And that was just one piece of this overall ecosystem of lack of support and an inability to understand how to support somebody who themselves was trying to balance my personal life and my professional life.
Mm-hmm.
And they just didn't know how to play a role in that, is my generous interpretation of what happened. And so, what I really focus on with organizations is building culture that
Mm-hmm.
understands how to support grief work.
Mm-hmm.
So, my very hot take, unpopular opinion is that I am much less focused on the number of bereavement leave days you give somebody and
Sure.
much more focused on what is the culture that they are coming back to
Yeah.
or activating that bereave policy within when something happens. Because
Yeah.
bereavement leave will always be a moment in time,
Sure.
right? 3 days, 5 days, 6 weeks.
Right.
It has to be this really defined
Mm-hmm.
time frame. But when you come back to work, you could work at that company another 1, 10, 20 years, and you're going to carry that loss with you the whole time. And so
Mm-hmm.
building systems that better support culture, I think, is much more impactful both for individuals and for companies in the long run, bottom line, than
Yeah.
saying like we need to expand the number of bereavement leave days somebody
Right.
gets.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that I don't think I mean maybe other people might view that as a hot take or unpopular opinion. I agree. I mean, I've always said 3 days seems kind of piddly, but it also depends on the loss, right? Like my brother died 11 years ago now, and I let my work know. I was like, I'm not going to be in. I'm probably not going to come in the whole week. And I got 3 days bereavement and I'd use PTO for the other days.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I said, that's fine. But so that was, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then by Thursday, there was like nothing going. I'm like, I
Yeah.
need to go to work to do something other than sit home and cry. So, I was actually kind of nice because had I been on like a leave, I wouldn't have been allowed to go back to work.
Right.
And I was like, I even called my boss. I'm like, I just want to come in for a half day to catch up on emails and just do a couple things. I don't want anybody to bother me. She's like, that's fine. We'll set you up in an office and we won't
Yeah.
put your cubicle and we won't tell anybody here, like whatever. And it was great. It was exactly what I needed to just do something else for a minute.
Yeah.
Then I took the rest of the week off. So
And I think see, so that part, I'm so glad you mentioned that because that part, you being able to say, I want a half day, I want to be in the cubicle by myself, I just want to answer emails, I'm not being in meetings. Those are all norms and expectations that can be set up in advance so that
mhm.
when anybody goes through leave, they
Yeah.
understand what accommodations they're allowed to ask for.
Yeah.
People don't know when you go through a traumatic life event like that you have options.
Yeah.
They don't know to ask, they're uncomfortable to ask,
Hmm.
and so they don't. They just show back up when they're told to. But for an organization to basically have your Beyond Bereavement handbook, which
Yeah.
would be an appendix to your employee handbook that outlines in the first 6 weeks, 90 days,
Hmm.
1 year, here's all the accommodations that we are willing to make available to you when you
Yeah.
feel like your grief is very activated and you need
Yeah.
them. Half days, no meeting days, no
Yeah.
camera days, work from
Right.
home. But you need to give people those choices so that they
Yeah.
know it's okay to need accommodations
Yeah.
instead of it feeling like you're really exposing yourself
Hmm.
by saying, hey, I need a little more
Yeah.
leeway or flexibility or
Yeah.
support here.
Yeah. Yeah, and thankfully I had a boss who was very understanding when I let her know what was going on. I had like a meeting like that next morning and I was like,
Yeah,
I need like I can't can you please either have the meeting for me or call the rep or tell them whatever, I don't care. And she was like, I'm gonna log into I'll get into all your meetings. I will take care of everything for the whole week. Don't even worry about it. Like she was
yeah,
very accommodating for all of that. And when I
yeah,
asked to come in for a half day, she was like, absolutely. Even she was even the one that said we'll give you an office so you're not at your
right,
cubicle or whatever,
right.
which was so nice. But yeah, it's those little things like I agree, not even just putting a different amount of time on it, but just giving a better experience for because we don't know what we're going to need when we're grieving.
Totally.
Like, I didn't know I'd want to go back to work after two
Right,
days, I
right.
figured I'd be, and same with when my mom died last year. had called, I'm freelance now, but I called all my clients and I was like, just, I'm going to be out. I'm not going to be doing anything for like the next week. And again, like 3 days in, I'm like, I need to do something. So I called one
Totally.
of my clients. I'm like, give me some work to do.
Totally.
And yeah, because you just don't know. It's hard to plan. You can't plan your grief.
And I think that that's also, I've gotten questions in workshops around like, what do you do if someone who's in a C-suite or a leadership position loses someone and they come right back to work? You don't do anything because
Right.
they might need that.
Right.
And what's important about that, the message that that sends is how they approach that coming back. It's
Yeah.
different to say, I'm here because similar to you, I need this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be distracted.
Yep.
I could have chose to stay home and I didn't is different than I don't have time to stay home
Mm-hmm.
or I'm not allowed to stay home or I can't afford to stay home. Those
Yeah.
are really different
Yeah.
means to the same end.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I think my experience, I recognize my privilege, and that was a bit of a luxury because had I had a different type of job in a service industry or
Totally.
what, like if I were a waitress, I can imagine I still should have those rights to be like, give me fewer tables this day, or
Right.
let me just work hostess stand so I don't have to whatever. Like give me something different. I know that's not always an option in those type of situations, so
Yeah.
it should be.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why the other side of like the whole grief equation is just helping people understand the realities of what it looks like to grieve and giving people permission to do that. So at a certain point, you do have to get back to your obligations and responsibilities, whatever they
Mhm.
are. But
Mhm.
then what are the personal practices and what
Yep.
are the structures that you have outside of those that support you in being able to
Hmm.
go back to work or care for somebody else or do whatever it is that you have to do
Hmm.
because life does demand that sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in a perfect world, if you were to write, I'm assuming you have probably written drafts of handbooks or addendums to put in handbooks, right?
Yes.
So, what does some of that look like? Like, what is your idea of a good culture for work? What are some things that places should offer?
Yeah. So the first is, I mean, if you take it from the moment someone says, I'm going on leave, right? The first thing we want to do is understand what are their communication preferences during that time.
Okay,
If
good.
you have paperwork you need to fill out, if you have meetings, like things that need to get shuffled around, do you want someone from your work calling you, texting you, or emailing you?
Hmm.
Do you want do you want your loss shared with the team? Do you want to share it or do you want your manager to share it?
Hmm.
Do you want to tell people or do you want to keep it private and you don't want anyone to know? Those are all things that need to be established as like when someone says they're going on leave, these are the questions to ask before they go out so that
Yeah,
they come back into an environment where they know what to expect and they know
right.
what people know.
Yeah.
The second thing is what is that menu of accommodations look like? So instead of thinking about it like you're on bereavement leave and then you're back at work, I like to think about it as a re-ramping period.
Hmm.
So I help clients think about if you were onboarding a new employee, what does your onboarding schedule look like?
Yeah.
You establish a 30, 60, 90-day goal.
Right.
You identify how many meetings someone's in, which they're participating in, and which ones they're leading.
Hmm.
You have regular check-ins with them that are I encourage people to have two kinds of check-ins. One is a work check-in. What's taking up headspace for you right now? Where is your energy focused? What is your capacity like?
Yeah.
Those are ways of asking how are you performing without saying how are you?
Right.
But the other kind of check-in is check-ins that are specifically to check in on mental well-being.
Right.
And those are times where we're not talking about work. This has no impact on your performance. This
Hmm.
is just for me to know that how are you piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
And letting the manager do some of that legwork to understand like where can I piece these two conversations together and
Yeah.
support an employee.
Sure.
Um, the other thing that I encourage employers to do, and this depends on the size of the company, is have awareness around anniversaries and important dates.
Yeah.
My mom's
Mother's Day is a big one. I send out
totally,
cards to all the children of all my clients, female clients that have passed away on Mother's Day.
yeah, so beautiful.
Hmm.
And like Tuesday for me was the 2-year anniversary of my mom's passing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
also work for myself, so I took the whole day off and I didn't
Yeah.
answer messages, emails, but nobody really knew that. So helping people understand like this is your day to take what you want with it.
Yeah.
My favorite piece of advice, and this is for managers and also people who are grieving, is come up with an emoji that you can set as your status on any sort of like Slack, Teams, whatever communication platform you use. That is something that if I were grieving, I would set to signal to my manager, I'm having a hard day.
Yeah.
I don't really want to talk about it, but I need you to know for whatever
Right.
reason to be aware that like I'm going to be slow to respond today.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time focusing. Just something that can
Oh, I
let
love
your
that.
team and leadership know what's going on with, again, without making you super vulnerable to them
Right.
or that anxiety of like, because this used to happen to me all the time. I'm so unfocused. I can't think straight. I'm really distracted. I'm really sad. I'm really
Yeah.
unmotivated. Oh, like, but I have all these messages and all these emails, and like, I don't know what to do. And that anxiety of like, I'm not performing.
Yeah.
So that lets people know what's going on for you
Yeah.
without, hopefully, so they don't get angry and frustrated. And you can
Right.
also then have the space that you need when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish like so actually funny story about that. I after my mom died, I was struggling with just simple things like going to the grocery store because I go to the checkout counter and the checkout person's like, "Spotty, how's your day going?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, I had a really bad day that day and I was really struggling to just get my ass to the grocery store to buy food. And I didn't know how to I didn't want to be that guy that's like, the grocery store clerks, how you doing? I'm like, well, my mom died and I'm having a crap, and make them feel awkward. So, another death doula sent me a pin that says I'm grieving that I could wear right here. So that's just my way of saying, leave me alone right now. I need some space because I'm grieving, but I'm trying to move through the world still.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I have also thought about how in so many other areas of our life, we have these physical ways of representing big life milestones
Hmm.
that are like universally understood. So
Yeah.
you see someone with a cap and gown, like people honk their horns, yell congratulations. You see an engagement ring, you see a wedding band, like
Hmm.
people are married, like even someone who's pregnant and they have a big belly, or you just gave birth and you have a baby in a carrier. Like there's all of these visual cues
Hmm.
that we have that signal to other people that something else is going on and it's like
Yeah.
that quick calibration.
Hmm.
But grief doesn't have that. And it's such a disservice for the moments that you want it. You don't have to wear, so Keriah is the name of my company, which is a type of ribbon. It's a ceremony. I'm trying to pull mine down. This is a Keriah ribbon.
Oh, okay.
And so in Judaism, when somebody dies, the immediate family wears this pin
Okay.
and you tear the pin on the day of the funeral.
Okay.
And you wear it for the 7 days of Shiva,
Yeah.
the first 7 days following loss. And what the pin symbolizes in the Jewish community is it's a way of letting the broader community know that
Hmm.
you are grieving.
Yeah.
So even if you don't know someone, if you saw them wearing that pin, you would know that they are grieving.
Hmm.
And then the rip in it symbolizes that you are open to love and support. Your heart has been ripped open,
Hmm.
and then your community is called in to fill it.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So beautiful. And so the reason I named my company that is because to me, it just encapsulates everything that I think is missing in the world of grief that we live in today.
Hmm.
One is that people don't know how to share with other people that they're grieving. They don't have this way of expressing it. And then on the other side, people don't know how to step in and fill that gap.
Yeah.
And you can't do one without the other because you can't hold one person responsible if the other side isn't going to show up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's that balance and how do you support the people who are going through it and the people who want to support the people who are going through it
Yeah.
to change the ecosystem.
Oh, I love all of this. And I wish, like, I'm glad I have that I'm grieving pin that I don't wear it every day, but if I'm having that day where I need to go out in the world and I'm just like, please don't talk to me, I wear that.
Totally.
But I remember, like, I'm obsessed with Victorian era London. And when Queen Victoria lost her husband very young, she was relegated to wear black, but she was really grieving hard, and she's continued to wear black for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And everybody around her was like, we can't, it would be disrespectful. So everybody, that's one of the reasons why everybody wore black in the Victorian era. But
So
sh-
interesting.
she continued to wear her mourning dresses and mourning veils for, I think it was like 10 years. I forget. It was
Wow.
a long period of time, which is her way of saying, I'm still grieving right now. And I love that she was able to have that nonverbal communication with the world. So to say, I'm grieving still.
Totally. I had a friend in the space who had a miscarriage and she wore red for a couple of weeks just to for her to have that recognition with herself, like of the blood of loss. And she was like, it was so empowering for me to know that I was sort of taking this stand against this thing that had happened to me and being able to represent it in a way that felt very meaningful to me without needing to tell every single person that I encountered why.
Hmm.
And I just think there's so much power in having those visual cues.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. All right, before we wind down and get to the last section of the podcast, is there any like one piece of advice or one thing you wish you just everybody could possibly know
About grief.
about grief, loss, anything, butterflies? I don't care.
Yeah. One piece of advice I wish everyone knew.
I know it's a big question to try to pick one thing.
Um, Grief is going to take you on it. If you let it, grief can take you on a journey that can really open your eyes to new experiences.
I love that.
So, like for me, I have really leaned into crafting. Since my mom died, she was very crafty. It was a thing we like to do together. It brings
Hmm.
me joy, but it's like I have to do it now. And I
Yeah.
have connected to parts of myself that I haven't really explored since I was like 15.
Oh wow.
And I probably never would have again
Hmm.
because it just wouldn't have occurred to me. And like I read this thing about Kelly Osbourne taking up falconry or something after Ozzy Osbourne died. And
That's
I was
so
like,
cool.
I
That's
know, I was
really
like, how
badass.
rad is that?
That,
That like you just like let what calls to you call to you. Like there's
mhm.
a reason. And it can actually be really interesting and eye-opening, to just see
Yeah.
like where you go if you let yourself go there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. That's perfect. And I feel like I just mentioned that in one of my Patreon posts about yeah, there was a quote about losing sight of the shore. I forget exactly what it was and how you have to let go to and lose sight of the shore in order to discover new lands. And I was like, well, grief is so much like that. Like I'm not saying you have to let go and forget or whatever, but if you just clutch onto that like not the grief, but if you just clutch too long and you refuse to flow with your grief, you're never going to find
Totally.
your new self and your new
Totally.
world and this the new world that you're in now. So yeah.
Like I thought for sure I was going to be like deep in my journal and like having all these, like what's the meaning of life
Yeah.
thoughts. And I'm like, I'd love to like glue some felt to some cardboard today.
That sounds fun. Let's do that.
And then I do that and I think about my mom and I
Yeah.
have a new idea and I explore that. And it's like what I would have thought I would want and need
Yeah.
wasn't what I wanted and needed. And it's so much richer for me
Yeah.
to be able to then explore all these things. And like now I meet new people who like to craft and I
Hmm.
have a new store I love to go. It's just, it opens a lot of doors.
Hmm. Awesome. Okay, so now I have a tradition at the end of my episodes where I pull a random card from the death deck. Have
Great.
you seen the death deck
Yes.
before? Okay, good.
Yes.
So you're familiar. So I'm going to pull a random card from there and then I will let you answer it and then I will answer it because fair is fair. All right. Oh, I've asked this one on the show before, but I love this question. All right. Visiting a loved one at the cemetery, you see a family barbecuing and watching TV at a nearby gravesite. What is your reaction? A, pissed and immediately complained to management. B, cringe but just let him go. Or C, jealousy, wishing my family embraced death like that.
Um, I would say somewhere between B and C. I I don't wish my family embraced death like that. It's just I can't imagine us doing
Right.
that.
Yeah, same.
I do wish my family had more of a shared language
Yeah.
and a shared something.
Yeah.
I don't think that I have three brothers.
Oh
Um,
my.
yeah, and I don't think that any of us, and we're all very different to begin with, and
Hmm.
none of us are processing or experiencing this in exactly the same way. And so we don't have a lot of like family ritual
Yeah.
around it. Um, and so I think and then the cringe piece is I think that people should be able to do whatever they want. Like
Mhm.
if that's the way you want to celebrate and honor life, absolutely. And I know that other people are going to be mad. And so I'm uncomfortable knowing that other people are going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even though I think everyone has a right to grieve the way that they need to.
Yeah.
What's your
I'm right.
answer?
I'm right whether with you with the kind of being in between. I don't know that I would cringe. But I agree. Like my family, we all have different grief languages, and I'm comfortable with that. I wouldn't be like, oh, I wish we'd do that, but
Yeah,
I'd be applauding for them. Like maybe that's what their loved one was. That was their thing. They loved barbecues, picnics, whatever. So that's what they're doing, and that's what we used to do in cemeteries. We'd go
totally.
have picnics there,
Right.
and now people are
Yeah.
like, ew, why would I do that? I think it's
It's,
great.
right. Because like if we were doing what my mom would want, we would like have cocktail hour.
Please come have a drink at my grave. It's fine.
Right. We'd like share some almonds and have a gin martini.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Sarah. I could talk
Thank
to you
you,
all day.
Nikki.
This is amazing. I'm going to give you the floor. Please tell my listeners where they can find you and how they can connect with you.
Yeah. So you can find me at KeriahCoaching.com or I'm on Instagram as at Grief Coach Sarah. And I just picked up the first run of my grief workbooks that are available now. It's called the Little Toolbook for Big Grief. And it's full of journal prompts, coloring pages, recipes, and activities to sort of allow you to meet yourself in whatever moment you're in and let grief, like we talked about,
Yeah.
take you where it wants to go,
Hmm.
and honor wherever that is in the moment. And you can find those on my website.
I love it. And I will link that down in the description so you can just
Great.
go click away. So, Sarah, again, thank you so much for taking time today to talk to my listeners. And this was such a lovely conversation.
Thank you so much, Nikki.
All right. Another huge thank you and shout out to Sarah for coming on my show. I always call them my new best friends when I interview them, but man, Sarah and I really hit it off. I emailed her after just to thank her again. And yeah, we commiserated a little bit. Anyway, she's just a lovely human being. Please feel free to reach out to her. Her contact information will be in the description below, so please check that out. Also, if you go down below, you'll see I will put links to my page where you can sign up for the waitlist for the Good Grief Society. You can sign up for Patreon to support this show. But if you enjoyed this show, please go leave me a rating and a review. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, all the better, because apparently that's the #1 place. I don't know. That's where you can leave a little couple sentences as to why you like this show, what's great about it. It'll boost me up in the algorithm so more people can find me, and hopefully more people will feel a little less alone in their grief. So please do that. And again, patreon.com/Nikki the Death Doula to support me. If you have a story you'd like to share on my show, please reach out to me. You can do that through my website, nikkithedeathdoula.com. If you go to the podcast tab, there's a little button right at the top that says that's a submission to be on the show. So go check that out. All right, enough. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. And remember, as always, your grief is yours, your feelings are valid, and grief doesn't always have to suck. Good Grief with Nikki the Death Doula is produced by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC in Columbus, Ohio. Nikki the Death Doula LLC is for consulting, education, emotional support, and guidance, and is no way considered a funeral establishment or licensed mental health establishment. Scripts, editing, sound design, literally everything with this podcast is done solely by Nikki Smith of Nikki the Death Doula LLC, with the exception of the music. The music is Cheery Monday by Kevin MacLeod. Licensing information can be found at filmmusic.io.